This is a two-part video. Part one was talking about compressors, comparing and figuring out how to choose the right one for you, and various inflation and deflation devices. This video we're solely going to focus on how to build a DIY system for automatically stopping your inflation and deflation devices so you're not constantly monitoring them. For you to understand everything that goes on in this video, you need to have a somewhat understanding of how a stone deflator works or something similar, and how a four-way system works. This one looks like a mess. Or a four-way system that gets installed in your vehicle. If there's something you don't understand in this video, then go watch part one and you'll have a good understanding of how everything here works. This is what I use. A system like this doesn't have to be more flat, it could be whatever manufacturer you choose. But this is the most convenient thing. Before, I used to just walk around, plug the 4 chucks into 4 tires, come to the front of my vehicle, either inflated or deflated. Deflating, you just open the valve. Inflating, you plug it into a compressor. Don't have any that I could plug it into here, but you get the point. And then you're kind of walking back and forth to your buddy saying what's up, coming back, checking your air pressure, and you're constantly doing that. But you still have to monitor the air pressure because you need to know when to stop the system. And that was pretty good, but I wanted something better. So I built these 2 devices. For airing down, this is, one of the Home Depot chuck type systems that I got, and a swivel connector for it. I'll put links below and a description of exactly what these are. Then I bought a brass valve stem, or valve, that's for your tire basically, and I pulled the valve stem out. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to increase airflow. And I connected that to a stone deflator. And in the stone deflator, I drilled out 3 holes. And I widened the main hole and I drilled 2 new holes. And then I set it to where I wanted it by using their instructions and actually testing it, and then I JB welded it shut. So by doing all that, first of all, I'm not worried about anything moving around on me and the functions changing anymore because it's JB welded shut. And the second thing is, by building it the way I built it, I tripled or quadrupled the airflow coming out of it. So now I do my thing, I plug in my into my valves, and when I come back to the front of my car, instead of just monitoring this, I do this, and that's it. I open it up and I let it go. The reason why this is curved up and it's permanently curved up is because of the gravity issue I mentioned. If these are facing down, they like to not function properly, so I could always have it facing up if I put it on the ground flat. That's the purpose of this. And now I could walk away from my car for an hour if I need to. I know that when I come back, it'll always be around 18 psi. So when I'm getting ready, I just plug everything in and I could go tend to my kid. I can go get ready for the trail. I could deal with my suspension or whatever I need to do. So that's kind of my hack. I think it's golden, honestly, for me. And then for airing up, I wanted the same type of system. So I bought this Parker regulator. Took me a while to figure out how to set it, just because it's very finicky. But eventually, you play around for about 20 minutes, you'll figure out exactly where the settings are. Just do what the instructions say. Again, JB welded it shut to where I wanted. And it's set to 35 psi. It works perfect. It's never went more than 0.01 above or below 35 psi, to my surprise. I also bought this Home Depot compressor intentionally. It's the cheapest, crappiest compressor I could find, period. If you look at the spreadsheet, you'll see why. My concern was that if I'm feeding very slow air into it may not function. It functioned, it worked perfectly. So I'm confident that this will work with any compressor. Based on everything I just said, the only other thing I want to mention is the times, right? With this system, I found that it doesn't increase or decrease my air up times in any way. It works exactly as if I didn't have this on. So this is great. I mean, this is just golden. This works a little bit worse, but it's not because the system works worse. It's because the stone deflators, they just work worse in general. When you get within about, I'd say 5 psi of your stop point, they start slowing down because of the way the system is built. So like I said, this took me about 3.5 minutes, maybe 3:45 to air down. this would take me about 5 minutes to air down. So you lose about 20% in time. Therefore, it's up to you. If you're in a hurry, air down the regular way. If you need to go do other things while you're airing down, just plug it in and walk away and you're good to go. Okay, so here's everything you need to build the deflator. This is a universal chuck that I got at Home Depot. Pretty straightforward. All the links will be in the description. This is a valve stem that I got off Amazon. Brass, just so it's nice and solid. And this is the stone deflator. So the first thing I did was for this guy, very simple. You just want to take that valve out. And if you don't have like a valve stem remover, you could literally just use a little flathead. And you get it inside, and you just start screwing it in. It should budge fairly easy. That's it. You don't need that. That's gone. Now you have a much wider opening to allow air to flow through faster. The next thing is the stone deflator. There's a little nipple in there. I noticed that that nipple also kind of prevents airflow, so I pulled it out. And you could literally just take that little flathead and try not to break the threads. Stop my needle nose pliers. Yeah, sorry, yeah. There you go, just breaks right open. Just be careful with the threads, don't mess with the threads. Alright, so once you got that out, you have a much better opening for your air to flow through. You want to take this system off. Take this out, take this out. Some of this one doesn't have it anymore because I lost it, but they might have a rubber gasket in there. You don't really need that. I always lose them anyways. This one you do need, and you do not want to lose though. So make sure you don't lose that one, because that's what's going to hold your air shut. So what we're going to do is take a 5/64 drill bit, open up this hole a little bit more, and on the other side, in a triangle form, basically one over here and one over here, we're going to drill 2 more holes. So you're going to end up having 3 holes in the same location as the factory one that's a little bit bigger. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you much more airflow, and this is what the final product is going to look like. You're going to have 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 hole. And I noticed that it gives me basically almost the same amount of airflow as if, you know, I just have my valve opened. And it doesn't limit the operation of the stone deflator. So that's pretty much it. We have 3 holes drilled. We have this little nipple broken off. The next thing is you want to make sure everything is super clean inside, otherwise it won't function properly. So you want to blow it out. Then put everything back together. Make sure you still have this little rubber gasket. That goes in first. Make sure it slides nice and smooth. I do tend to oil these once in a while just to make sure I have the nice smooth action. Then you put the spring on. You put this nut on. And then you get this nut on. That's pretty much it. It's not that difficult of a job. So now that we have the stone complete, took the valve stem out, everything else is just threading everything together. That's your system right there. We're going to tighten it in the vise. Alright, we're not going to JB weld it yet. So you can JB weld it later. As you can see, I JB welded this right here, this section, to keep the swivel from moving around. So I could always keep it oriented up. And then I JB welded over here. Before we do this, we are going to run probably 20 minutes of testing to make sure it's exactly at where I want it. For me, it's 18 psi. For you, it could be wherever. And then you want to JB weld it shut. So this is going to be for the inflation. This is a Parker regulator I got off Amazon with 1/4-inch connections. Everything we're using here pretty much is 1/4-inch connections. This is a coupler and another connection that we got at Home Depot, a couple of bucks. Pretty straightforward system. Once I found my exact PSI settings, here was about 33. I JB welded this shut just so I don't have to bother with accidentally moving it and worrying on the trail. Okay, so just to kind of show you how this system works, we're at 28 PSI right now. Just gonna let it go. That's it just shut off. So basically the valve just came down. And we are at 17.2 PSI, which, like I said, I have this set to 18. I'd set it maybe a little higher if you're worried. And it'll stop anywhere between 18.5 to 16.5 PSI. So that's how the deflator works. So I'm also going to show you how I air up. I'm going to use my household compressor just because it's faster. We're at 17.2. This just plugs right in. Take my compressor, plug that in, and open it up. This is going to be faster than your usual setup simply because I'm going off a big tank, but you'll get the point here. And like I said, these numbers aren't going to be accurate until I actually stop. But when I stop it, I see how much PSI I actually have in the vehicle. So this one I think is set to 32 or 33 PSI, I don't remember. And what's gonna happen when it hits 32 and 33-ish over here, it's just gonna stay stable. It's not gonna, it's gonna keep moving up and down 0.01. I'm gonna shut the compressor off. Sorry, I walked away for a second to shut the compressor off. So if I shut this off, you'll see what PSI it's at, 33. So I have this set to 33, the system I remember now. And basically you kind of saw what happened. When it gets to the 33-ish mark, it stays there. It's gonna skip up and down by about 0.1 PSI, but that's pretty damn accurate if you ask me. So the one thing I forgot to mention about the system and what makes the system awesome is that it equalizes all your tires. Because it's connected to all 4 tires at once, if I'm at 30 PSI on one tire, I'm gonna be 30 PSI on all my tires. They're all equalized. And it lets me transfer air fast too. So as an example, especially if I increase the PSI on my tires, this will give me enough pressure to seat a tire if it gets debeated on the trail. Other things that I've done with this setup, which was great, is if we're at a stop and one of my buddies' air compressor breaks because he has a Harbor Freight compressor or something, we'll start bringing compressors in and filling up one tire, and we'll just let that one tire of his go up to 50, 60 PSI, who cares? Somebody else will come start filling up the other tire, and then I'll just come in with the system. I'll equalize everything down to 35 PSI, wherever he wants to be. So that's where this also comes in handy, versus, the one hose or even the two hose, sometimes you won't be able to manage that. So that's everything. If you like this video, if you found this useful, if you learned anything, please like, please subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at @offcamber_. Thank you.